There is an old story that you have heard, the one that begins in the garden and ends in a forever city with a garden. Along the way, the people began to know God and love God and even want to make a house for God. There is a lot of beauty and a lot of pain, but even the best moments of the house they make are only a hint of what is to come. Then a time comes where they have to rebuild the house. A great cry goes up, shouts of joy and loud weeping. It is so loud that no one can tell the sounds apart. The pain and the joy rise up together. Those who had seen the first house knew what it took to rebuild. Those who saw the foundation laid again were full of joy, but none of them could fully see what was to come.
A day was coming when the God they built the house for would say to them, "You are the house. I have been building you, and you are being built together." The house of God is the people built together, a place where God and God's love can be experienced. We have a share in this. This is our story. We are living stones built into a spiritual house to lift up our God, a place where people can find a home that will never end.
The house needs some work. 2020 is a year we cannot forget. It was a year of challenge and trial for the global community. We are still navigating the ways the landscapes of our lives have been changed. At Trinity Grace, as a spiritual house in connection with the church across the ages and the world, we are grateful to have made it through with so much life intact. But there is much we have lost and much that needs to be rebuilt. We are a people with a vision to join God in the renewal of all things, and we need renewal in our own midst.
The Rebuilders Initiative is a journey of rebuilding at Trinity Grace with 3 areas of focus: our Christmas offering, Good Neighbors collaboration, and foundations. It's a time to take back some of what we lost in the pandemic and live our shared vision and mission as a church with as much fullness as ever. We need you. Will you join us in rebuilding?
And when we say rebuilding, here's what we mean. To rebuild our house here at TGC, to rebuild with our partners who are faithfully and creatively serving our city and our world in so many essential places near to the heart of God, and to be really intentional about being good neighbors as our city rebuilds.
This is an important moment in the life of our church. But as we rebuild, we're as committed as ever to being generous people, reflecting the heart of our Heavenly Father. The first $50,000 raised in this campaign is going to be given away to our partners. Here are just a few of the partners we will be supporting through the Rebuilders Initiative.
Families without a support network face many challenges. When parents are lonely and feeling overwhelmed, their kids feel the effects of that stress. Isolation also puts kids at greater risk of being separated from their family through foster care. At Safe Families, we're about keeping families together. We know that supported parents help children thrive. We bring church and community together, mobilizing volunteers to advocate for isolated children and parents.
Trellis is a community development nonprofit working in Brooklyn that believes in engaging, empowering, and advocating. So whether that's our youth mentorship program that provides community service opportunities and opportunities for students to speak up for themselves about the issues that matter to them, or working together with organizations to provide presents and meals for families and people in the community that need the help, or advocating for our residents and our neighbors that are dealing with injustice, Trellis believes strongly that we want to work together. One of our projects is called Community Heroes, where we invite creatives in communities to come and help tell the stories of beautiful residents who have helped strengthen, stabilize, and bless their neighborhood for years. We're incredibly grateful for the partnership that we've enjoyed for years with Trinity Grace, and we look forward to more opportunities in the future so we can serve our community and our neighbors better together.
Pray March Act began as a response to an urgent need in our community. As our nation was reeling over the horrific deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on, we knew that something needed to change. But many of the responses were insufficient, either thinking that somehow being friends with somebody who looked different or having conversations was enough, or lacking a Christian framework and a biblical ethic. And so we recognize, to see the long-term systemic change that we desire and long for, we need to build strong coalitions of people, but also depend on divine help and guidance. And that's what PMA is all about. The mission of Pray March Act is to create a nationwide collective of churches and organizations committed to Christian anti-racist work for the glory of God.
The Rebuilders Initiative is about strengthening these incredible partners and more. It is about us being the church, being the type of good neighbors Jesus called us to be, loving God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving our neighbors as ourselves.
The Bible tells us that Jesus is the Word who put on flesh and moved into the neighborhood. And he still longs to move into our neighborhoods today in his body, the church. When the city shut down, our church stood up. We linked arms and we began to care for the people around us who were scared and alone and hungry. And we were scared and we had no idea what each day was gonna be or hold, but we knew we had to do something. And so we were following God's heart for feeding people. And we met him there. We saw him as our provider, and there would be days where we were not sure if we would have enough, and there would be enough. And we kept being able to tell people, there's enough for you, there's enough food for you, there's enough grace for you, there's enough love for you. God is inviting us to let the story of his love transform us and transform our neighborhoods as we see their needs and we step into it, as we provide backpacks or coats or Christmas gifts for single moms. We see him and we see what he's already here doing, and we're joining him in that, and that's really exciting.
So the second aim of this Rebuilders Initiative is positioning ourselves to lean into more of these good neighbor collabs than before. We want to have the resources to respond quickly and generously in support of our neighbors. The last aim is that of strengthening our foundations as a church. The financial impact of the pandemic has been significant for us. Congregational giving is down by about 1/3 from what it was in 2019, and the amount of scheduled giving is down by about $10,000 per month compared to February 2020. We're seeking to steward our resources well and are full of faith that God will provide for all of our needs. We feel clearer than ever about our calling and mission and want to invite all who believe in our work to invest in our future. Sometimes it can slip our minds the power of just being present. When a person walks through our doors on a Sunday, when they venture to ask for help, when they begin to pray, when they entrust their kids to a volunteer, when they hope there will be another student in their age around, when someone tries a small group for the first time, or their marriage needs help. These are all places, and many, many more, where the church is meant to be. The astonishing community that gives tangible hands and feet to Jesus' love. Over thousands of years, we as Jesus' people have weathered many storms. The pandemic may have set us back, but together, with God's help, we will rebuild.
So we need you to give generously. We have an audacious goal of $150,000, and the first $50,000 we're giving away right off the top. We need to grow in our committed monthly giving. This was a need before the pandemic, and it's even more of a felt need now. There are many ways to give, and we need them all. We aren't just writing checks, we are showing up with our very lives. We have a long history as a church of profound generosity, and this is the way of the full and abundant life of Jesus. We can rise to this moment together. We can rebuild together.